After catching my brother-in-law whispering lies about me, my wife said, "Blood is thicker than marriage. I'll always choose my family." I stayed quiet, watching her walk away. What she never expected was that within days, her family's web of secrets would be exposed, their lies shattered, and the very people she chose over me would be the ones to destroy her world. Hey, Reddit. I was 34, just an ordinary guy grinding through life in a way that felt both stable and unremarkable. By day, I worked in IT at a mid-sized firm. Nothing flashy, just troubleshooting networks and fixing glitches for clients who barely noticed my efforts. My paycheck covered the basics: rent on a modest one-bedroom apartment in the suburbs, groceries that leaned toward frozen meals, and the occasional splurge on a streaming service to unwind. Nights were quiet, spent scrolling through forums or tinkering with old gadgets, a habit from my teenage years when I'd rebuild broken computers to escape the chaos at home. Growing up, things weren't easy. My parents split when I was young, and I bounced between them, learning early that reliability was my best defense. I wasn't the outgoing type, more the guy who listened than the one who talked. School was a blur of average grades and a few close friends, but I poured my energy into building a future that felt solid. By my 30s, I'd carved out this routine: work, gym 3 times a week to stay in shape, and dreams of settling down. I wasn't rich or famous, but I was content, or so I told myself. Then came my fiancée. We met 2 years ago at a mutual friend's backyard barbecue. Nothing romantic at first, just small talk over burgers. She was ambitious, with a spark that lit up any room. Sharp wit, a laugh that turned heads, and a drive to climb the corporate ladder in marketing. Beautiful in that effortless way, with cascading hair and eyes that seemed to see right through you. I fell hard, drawn to how she made me feel seen, appreciated. She loved my steadiness, she said, how I fixed things, paid bills on time, and never caused drama. We'd talk for hours about our futures: a cozy house, kids someday, vacations in places I'd only dreamed of. I thought we'd built something real, a partnership where my quiet strength balanced her bold energy. But looking back, there were cracks I ignored. Subtle digs about my simple job, hints that she deserved more excitement. I brushed them off, convincing myself love meant compromise. Little did I know, that perfect facade was hiding storms that would soon tear it all apart. And that night at the party, it was the moment everything shifted, forcing me to confront the truth I'd been avoiding. It all blew up that Friday night at her best friend's dinner party, a lavish affair in a dimly lit loft overlooking the city skyline, where the air hummed with chatter and the clink of wine glasses. The table was set with fancy platters, aromatic garlic bread, steaming pasta, and a bottle of expensive red that I'd splurged on to impress. Her friends, a mix of polished professionals and social climbers, lounged around in designer outfits, their laughter already echoing off the walls as they swapped stories about their perfect lives. I was the odd one out, dressed in my usual button-down and jeans, trying to blend in while nursing a glass of water. We'd been dating for 2 years, engaged for 6 months, and I thought we were solid. Until that moment. He can't even provide properly. I'm just settling until I find better, she sneered, her words slicing through the conversation like a knife, her eyes locking onto mine with a cruel glint. The room erupted in laughter, sharp and mocking, as her friends clinked glasses in agreement, one of them choking out, "Oh my God, settling? Girl, you deserve a upgrade." Another chimed in, "Yeah, he's sweet. But come on, that IT gig? Boring." I sat there frozen, fork halfway to my mouth, the rich scent of marinara sauce turning sour in my nostrils, my face burning as the room spun with a dizzying mix of shock and shame. My heart pounded like a drum, sweat beading on my forehead, while they kept giggling, oblivious to the storm raging inside me. The quiet guy who'd always swallowed his pride. Why now? In front of everyone? Flashes of our arguments hit me. Her complaints about my dead-end job, the hints that I wasn't ambitious enough, the way she'd eye other men at events. Was this just venting, or something deeper? I forced a weak smile, staying silent as the chatter moved on, but inside, a fire ignited. Betrayal like that doesn't just sting, it demands payback, and in that instant, I knew things would never be the same. She had no idea what was coming, the price she'd pay for underestimating me. As the night dragged on, I plotted quietly, my mind racing with possibilities, wondering how far I'd go to make her feel the weight of her words. The laughter faded into background noise, but the humiliation lingered, fueling a resolve I'd never known. What would she do when the tables turned? I couldn't wait to find out. That night, after we stumbled out of the party into the cool night air, the drive home was a suffocating silence broken only by the hum of the engine and the distant wail of sirens. I gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white, my chest tight like a coiled spring, while she hummed along to the radio, oblivious or pretending to be. Back in our dimly lit apartment, the faint scent of her perfume lingering on the couch, I didn't explode. I just nodded, muttered good night, and retreated to the bedroom, collapsing onto the bed with the weight of her words pressing down. Sleep evaded me. I lay there staring at the cracked ceiling, the city lights flickering through the blinds, replaying the scene over and over, the sneer on her face, the clink of glasses, the sting of laughter that felt like a punch to the gut. For months, I'd been the steady one, picking up the slack in ways I hadn't fully admitted to myself. Paying for those fancy dinners at upscale spots where I'd watched the bill climb. Her wardrobe upgrades that drained our savings. Even that engagement ring she insisted on, a glittering symbol of a future I thought we shared. She worked too, sure, a marketing job that paid well, but it was never enough. She'd drop hints during quiet evenings, like when we'd argue over bills. Your dead-end IT gig isn't cutting it, she'd say, or casually mention her ex, the big-shot entrepreneur who'd whisked her away on trips I could only dream of. I brushed it off, convincing myself love meant sticking it out, compromising for the long haul. But that mockery in front of her crew? It flipped a switch, igniting a quiet fury I'd buried deep. The humiliation burned, raw and unrelenting, making me question every "I love you," she'd whispered. By morning, bleary-eyed and fueled by black coffee, I was done playing the fool. I started digging, quietly, methodically, sifting through her phone while she showered, uncovering texts to that better guy, a coworker she'd been flirting with for weeks. Messages about ditching me right after the wedding, plans for a life without my limitations. Her family? They adored me, always welcoming with warm hugs and stories over Sunday dinners. But they had no clue about her double life, the lies she'd spun to keep up appearances. I wasn't going to scream or fight. No, I'd let the truth unravel her world, one thread at a time, watching as the facade crumbled. The fallout? It terrified me a little. What if it backfired? But the betrayal demanded balance, and I was ready to tip the scales. The next day dawned with a heavy fog outside our window, mirroring the haze in my mind as I brewed coffee, the bitter aroma filling the kitchen. I confronted her calmly at the table, the steam rising from our mugs like unspoken tension. "We need to talk about last night," I said, my voice steady despite the knot in my stomach, sliding my phone across the wooden surface with screenshots of her flirty texts and plans to bail. Her face drained of color, eyes widening as she scrolled, but she played it off with a forced laugh. "It's nothing, just venting. You know how girls talk." I didn't argue. I just stood, grabbed my keys, and left, the door clicking shut behind me, letting the silence hang like a verdict. By afternoon, fueled by a mix of anger and resolve, I emailed her parents the full dossier. Screenshots of the affair, doctored bank statements showing her siphoning money from our joint account for secret gifts to him, even voice memos of her mocking me to friends. Her mom called first, her voice trembling on speakerphone as I lingered in the hallway, eavesdropping. "How could you do this to him? He's been nothing but good to us, paying for dinners, helping with bills. You're throwing away a real man." Her dad chimed in, gruff and disappointed. "Family doesn't lie like this." A twist hit when her brother, who I'd always gotten along with, texted me privately. "Dude, I had no idea. Thanks for the truth, I'll back you up." It felt like an unexpected alliance, validating my moves, but making me wonder if I'd crossed into something irreversible. The wedding venue? I tipped off the planner anonymously about the scandal, and by evening, they canceled the deposit refund, citing moral clauses. Her bridesmaids started ghosting her frantic texts, one replying, "Sorry, can't be part of this mess." That better guy? He vanished faster than I expected, blocking her after seeing the evidence I'd leaked online. She begged me to stop, cornering me outside our building, tears streaming down her face. "Please, I was wrong. I'll change. Don't ruin us." But I just watched, heart pounding, as her dream crumbled. The venue gone, the dress returned in a crumpled box, her social circle fracturing like glass. It was like watching a house of cards fall, and for the first time, she saw the real cost of her words. Would karma backfire on me? The thought lingered, but the betrayal's price felt worth it, until the fallout started hitting closer to home. The wedding morning dawned with a deceptive brightness, sunlight streaming through the stained glass windows of the old church, casting colorful patterns on the pews like a cruel mockery of hope. Guests trickled in, dressed in their finest, murmuring congratulations as I stood at the altar, my suit feeling too tight, my tie like a noose. I'd come alone, no best man, just me, facing the music I'd orchestrated. The air was thick with the scent of lilies and nervous chatter, but beneath it all, a storm was brewing. I knew what was coming. I'd set it in motion, but watching it unfold still twisted my gut. By noon, the facade shattered. Her family arrived not with smiles, but with purpose, cornering her in the dressing room where the mirror reflected her pale face, the white gown hanging like a shroud. Her mom led the charge, photos and texts printed out in her trembling hands. "You mocked him, lied to us all," her dad growled, his voice breaking as he paced the small space, the echo of his words bouncing off the walls. "We thought you were happy, building a life. But this? Siphoning money? Cheating? We're done enabling this." Her brother chimed in, quieter but firm. "He was good to you, sis. You threw it away." One by one, they walked out, the door clicking shut with finality, leaving her alone amid scattered tissues and the faint perfume of regret. The officiant, tipped off by an anonymous note I'd sent, stepped in moments later, his face somber. "I'm sorry, but under the circumstances, we can't proceed." The ceremony was called off, guests dispersing in whispers, the dream dissolving like mist. She texted me frantically from the church steps, her messages flooding my phone. "Please, I was wrong. Take me back. I'll do anything." Tears must have blurred her vision as she typed, but I didn't respond. Sitting in my empty apartment later that afternoon, the silence broken only by the distant hum of traffic, I stared at the ceiling, replaying it all. The humiliation at the party, the months of quiet resentment, the calculated unraveling. It had all led here. For the first time, she understood. Betrayal isn't just words. It's a debt that eats you alive, gnawing at your soul until there's nothing left but hollow echoes. I moved on, stronger, rebuilding my life with therapy sessions and new routines, knowing some prices are too high to pay. And her? Last I heard through mutual friends, she's rebuilding alone, haunted by the ghosts of what she lost. Family ties frayed, friendships shattered, a future she sabotaged. It wasn't about revenge, it was about balance. Betrayal demands its toll, and in the end, we all pay for our choices. What would you do in my shoes?